coming up this week?
You know, to put your poetry out there into the world, you've got to have thick skin. You've got to like be able to, you know, deal with people being quite nasty. And also to write poetry, you need to have really thin skin. You need to be able to like feel things really deeply. So yeah, I'd love to come on tour. And he just booked me like there and then. Oh, I've never seen a girl play bass before. Or like, oh, it's so funny seeing like someone tiny with such a big instrument. Wow, like this is living. It made my brain go from like black and white to like multicolored. Oh God, I've really fucked it.
Welcome back. My guest today is a Brighton-based poet called Bassie Gracie. If you've not heard of her, then here's a little clip.
Sometimes I feel like proper poets hate me because my poems always rhyme. And then I rhyme the words that rhyme with words like slime and time and rhyme. And that's not proper poetry, that's like a children's bedtime story. So I'm sorry if you proper poets find my poems boring, if you're snoring, way over there at the back. I never write my poems down because my spelling's always crap and my handwriting is messy and my layout isn't thought through. I never write those proper poems like those proper poets ought to, like you're taught to. I don't use similes or analogies. I just say what I mean, and the meaning's always simple. The message always seen. If poets write poems for BBC4, I write poems for CBBC. I am karaoke to music. I am Baby Bell to cheese, and that pleases me. Because the art form is so massive, it can encompass all of that. It can be emotional, it can be hilarious, from haikus all the way to rap. And I'll save the proper poems for the proper poets most of the time, because I can do proper poetry properly, but it'll probably possibly rhyme.
Bassie Gracie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a real honour. We'll call you Gracie from now on, because we'll get into why you're called Bassie Gracie in a second. It's a lovely poem. My question is obviously, is that how you feel? As in, I got the sense from that you feel looked down on by other poets.
I don't know if I feel looked down on by other poets. I think that my poetry is quite simplistic. I try and write maybe poetry for people that aren't into poetry or don't like poetry. I do a lot of work with bands and in music environments at gigs, you know, where people maybe aren't looking to hear poetry or aren't expecting to hear poetry. So I've kind of written a lot of my work to be accessible to loads of different crowds, and that, you know, means that it's quite simplistic. It means it's not there's not loads of metaphors or loads of levels to it. And I do write like that sometimes. Sometimes I write without rhyme or I mix it up. But I like writing simplistic poetry. I'm inspired by, you know, Spike Milligan and John Cooper Clarke, and keeping it easy to understand. I want to try and say complicated things in a simple way, and I think that that's okay, you know. And that poem is not saying, you know, other poets are wankers and I'm like down to earth. It's saying just write what you feel, write the way you want to write, you know. Don't get in your head.
What is the process? Because there's some of your poems that I follow you on Instagram, and there's one in particular where, you know, it's going on, it's really engaging stuff, and then you're throwing a line that I literally well up at and almost start crying. And I'm going, oh my God, does she mean for me to do that? I don't know if that's intended. The most recent one was the one about the Green and the Reform candidates, and they sort of, you know, came together as human beings, and then sort of at the end they sort of go off into their respective kind of political holes. And I thought, is that, you know, do you start that process by saying, I want to throw in a line that really gets to people's emotions?
I wrote that poem particularly because I'd written one previously about a guy that was hanging up flags. And I got a lot of... The way the algorithm works is that if I say England flag, it will show it to loads of people that like will comment about England flags. So lots of people that feel angry or passionate about England flags. So I'd written a poem about that, and I got a lot of like hate from people saying, you know, like classic girl with a nose ring, like, oh, ba 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 ba, you know. And I got in my head about it, you know. Like if I was walking down the street, if one of those blokes saw me, what would they say? What would they do? And I started stressing me out. And then I thought that actually, I'm sure I meet Reform voters all the time, and I'm sure I meet these people that are commenting nasty stuff on the internet. I'm sure that we probably bump into each other on the bus or in a shop and would have a bit of banter, would have a chat, I never really argue with people on the street. That's not something that I do when I first meet someone. So I kind of wanted to write a poem about that actually people tend to get on. People tend to have a nice time and then get angry,
But not on social media, they
Not on
don't,
social media.
because it seems to be
Yeah.
a sort of a sort of gateway to venting your anger and frustrations at people that don't deserve it. I think.
Definitely, it's riling people up. It's trying to get engagement so that you don't put it down, and and that's good for me because then people comment and it creates engagement. But it's also like quite painful to see it. I try not to read the comments, but it's hard sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the podcast idea started a couple of years ago with my daughter, she's like 20, 21 now. She was studying politics at university, and she really wanted to do a podcast accessible for young people to talk about politics. So we did it together, and we did the same thing. We sort of touched on nationalism, reform voters, and she got like horrific abuse, and it was really like, as a dad, I was like, oh my god, that's like, how can anyone say that to a 20-year-old girl? It's disgusting. And she just had to stop. She said, I'm not engaged with it anymore. I can't do it anymore. And like you said, it was really good for our views and getting it out to more people. But it's like, it just wasn't worth it. It was such a toll, really, on it, I think.
It's so hard, yeah. And I really, encourage people to put their poetry out there and to, get it out into the world. But it's a contradiction because, to put your poetry out there into the world, you've got to have thick skin. You've got to be able to, deal with people being quite nasty. And also to write poetry, you need to have really thin skin. You need to be able to feel things really deeply. So I'm stuck in between these two extremes, and trying to find peace at it. Yeah.
And do you sort of play to the algorithm? As in, when you're writing something, do you think, oh, this will go down well on Instagram, or do you just go?
It's only recently. I didn't used to, but then since I wrote this new set recently of political poetry, which the England flag one was a part of, and some other poems that are kind of more about the political situation in England at the moment and Britain generally. Because I was going on a tour with this artist being on toast, and his work is quite political. And I was just thinking, I have 15 minutes to talk at the start of his set. What do I want to say right now? What do I want to get across? What do I want to talk about? And I was like, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about how are we going to bridge this divide? How are we going to try and understand each other? How are we going to be empathetic? Let's work towards that. That was my take. So I wrote some poems that I thought went along with that, and then while I posted them up, I realised that if I say England flag in the description, then it will say socialism England flag people. If I say reform voter in the description, then suddenly it's this whole thing. So, and now when I'm thinking about the descriptions, I'm like, maybe I should just put in keywords. But it's hard as well because fundamentally I want it to just go to people that like poetry. I don't want to create political discourse or anger people, or I want to find an audience that likes me, and it's hard to do that via algorithms. Yeah, but
yes, and also it's quite hard to anticipate as well. And also you might, you're from what you say, your idea is to bridge the divide, not create more of it. But I just feel like whatever you do online politically, if you are certainly on the tackling the right, it will just give you. They're not. People aren't listening to each other on either side. I don't think so. There's just a massive gap of that can't be bridged. I don't know how it will be bridged.
I think if I find the right combination of rhyming words, then I'll bridge it, and I'll do it. I just got to keep trying.
I believe in you, Gracie. Just going back to kind of how you get started in poetry. What made you want to do it? Was it something you wanted to do as a young girl? I want to go on stage and do poetry.
I've always written different stuff. I wrote short stories or starts of things. It's something that I've always kind of felt like a draw to do. I never really called it poetry until later on in my life. I kind of thought maybe I'd be a rapper. I was hanging out with a lot of rappers when I was younger, and playing bass in some rap bands, and then I was like, I could be a rapper. and it just, I don't have the whatever it is needed to be a rapper. I don't have it. I think my words are not rhythmic enough, or I like to have space to kind of say what I want to say, which is, you're so constrained with 4/4, or with time signatures,
Yes.
and with rhythm, and I love the flexibility of just being able to say whatever I want. And I think that that's what poetry feels like for me. It just feels like chatting. It just feels like, how can I say what I feel, what I want to say in the most concise way possible, in a way that will keep people listening. And I guess that's if it rhymes. Yeah.
If it rhymes, but also, well, just going by your Instagram account, is that when you perform your poetry, you're very sort of like you perform the words as well, don't you? You're not just sort of sitting there saying them; you're sort of acting them out, and that's really engaging as well. I think, just to sort of see someone engage with what they're saying in that way as well.
It's a performance, definitely. It is it's part of it. I've tried to write page poetry. It's kind of what that poem Proper Poets is about as well, is that it's just my page poetry isn't that interesting. It's so much of it.
What's page? What do you mean by page
Just
poetry?
like poetry that you read off of a page, as opposed to
Oh, I
seeing
see.
it
Okay.
being performed. And I think it's two very different things, really. Like, performance poetry is a different genre. It's a different type of thing. And when I write my poems down and then read them back, I'm like, wow, that is crap. But then when I perform it, I'm like, so
Is that so? When you write it, are you seeing yourself perform it on stage
yeah,
then, rather
I'm
than
saying it.
someone reading
I'm
it?
saying it out loud. I
Yeah.
will always say it. I won't write it and then read it. I will say it and then write it. So
I was going to talk about Beans on Toast a bit because I came across Beans on Toast from another guest, Robbie Hood, who had it Beans on Toast as one of his tracks, as one of his top 5 tracks. And I had not, to be honest, I'd not heard of them, and I've been playing them, and then I was playing this clip, and you were in it.
I woke up naked on the kitchen floor.
There you are.
That's
Look.
why I don't drink tequila anymore.
And then doing some cleaning at the end. Are they Brighton based, or is he Brighton based? It's mainly him, isn't it?
yeah, so he is a solo artist, but he has a band as well. I play in his band, and he
Okay.
is based in like Whitstable in Kent. We met at Glastonbury a couple of years ago. Yeah,
And you tour with him as well,
yeah,
then?
yeah.
Because he's on the road a lot, isn't he?
I've done 3 tours with him so far. So yeah, so I do support slots sometimes, and sometimes if he plays with a full band, I'll play bass in his band. Yeah, and he's really fun to tour with, and his crowds are full of really interesting people, and yeah, it's a dream, really. Like, I was playing with another band, Duncan Disorderly and Scallywags, at Glastonbury, and he just came to one of our sets, and I saw him in the audience, and I was, it was the Sunday of Glastonbury, and I was feeling like crap, and I was like, God, I got to make this good because Beans on Toast is in the audience. And then I went backstage, and he was there, and he was like, oh, so what are you doing? Are you playing with any other projects? And I was like, oh, I'd really like to just like make some money off music. And he was like, well, I make money off music. I can give you some money if you want to make music with me. And I was like, yeah, let's go. He was like, do you want to come on tour? And I was
I'm
like,
in.
yeah, I'd love to come on tour. And he just booked me like there and then to come on tour with him. Which
Wow.
is like the kind of thing that you imagine, like, when I was a kid, like, oh, one day I'll be playing bass in a band, and then, there'll be someone in the audience and they'll ask me to go on tour. And that's like literally exactly what happened. So it's beautiful. It's like the best day of my life.
It was my dream as a boy, and it never
Yeah.
happened because I can't sing and I can't play an instrument. So.
Oh, that's the first
fair
thing to
enough, really.
learn. That's not gonna.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
gonna happen
Yeah.
unless
I fell over at the first
Yeah.
hurdle. Should we go on to your
Yeah.
tracks? Let's do the first one. There's a couple of them here which are my favourites as well. I absolutely love this song. This is Heaven, Talking Heads.
There is a party. Everyone is there. Everyone will leave at exactly the same time.
So this is released on their third studio album, 1979. As a journalist, described it as tedious, beautiful, and desperate. which I've never really got, but apparently that's what it was. Now, as a boy, I was obsessed with the film Stop Making Sense, which is where that clip was. I used to watch it over and over again. I went to the cinema to see it loads of times. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, Gracie, why this one?
Yeah, my dad is a massive Talking Heads fan, always has been. He always said before he had a daughter, he was like, if I ever have a daughter, she's going to be a bassist, she's going to play bass. He was like, if you play bass, you can get in any band in the world, because you're a girl, so they'll want like a token female bass player, which, like, it's not the best approach to bridging the misogyny in music, or the patriarchy, but it worked, so fair play to him. And I remember him showing me Stop Making Sense, and showing me that the start of it, where Tina Weymouth and David Byrne are playing together, and he was like, that would be you one day, that would be you. And like, that image of them playing together on stage is so like set in my mind, of being like, oh, that's the goal, that's the dream, that's what I have to do.
Wow.
Yeah, and he always wanted me to be a bass player, just really forced me into it. And I was really resistant at first. I was like, Dad, that's lame. Just because you think that everything that your dad does is lame when you're a kid. It's like, oh, bass is such a lame instrument.
How old were you? How old
Got
were you?
me my first bass for my 12th birthday. So yeah, so I was pretty young. And it's a little.
It must be quite hard with, like, you've got small hands at 12,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard to sort
And
of play.
I went to like a bass teacher for like one lesson, and he told me that I couldn't play bass because my hands were too small and too weak. So it was just I should just not try. He was like, oh, you could maybe play guitar.
Look at you now.
Yeah, and then it took when I was like 18 and I was going to uni. I'd moved to Brighton and did like first year of uni. I hadn't met anyone that I thought was cool. And then I was like, maybe I could be a bassist in a band. I could meet people that way, and kind of then, yeah, started bands, joined bands, and kind of went from there. But it's made a huge impact on my life, and I really think it is because the Talking Heads had a female bass player, which just shows as well that how women on stage and women in music leads to more women in music. It's a ripple effect, and like, if you see it, you can be it. And I think if Talking Heads didn't have a girl in their band, then my dad never would have been like, oh, my daughter should be a bass player. He never would have even thought of it. And even still now, there are so many. I get so often, like, people are like, oh, I've never seen a girl play bass before, or like, oh, it's so funny seeing like someone tiny with such a big instrument, or or just always assuming, like, when I say I play in bands, they're like, oh, you sing, which I don't. And like, yeah, I just think there's going to be more and more women playing, like, more women rhythm sections is what I want. Yeah.
I think that it's not just in music though as well. I think if you see, and not even just women, I think if you see, someone in the, call it limelight, doing something and you relate to them, then it opens that door to say, oh, I can do that as well. It's a bit like I'm a big tennis fan, and the Williams sisters for me have opened a door into, African American women playing tennis, which before them was unheard of. I think it's just I think it is seeing that sort of someone else do it and opening that door.
Which is why inclusivity and representation is so important. Yeah. Yeah, it opens the door for so many people that come after them. Yeah.
Is your dad a big music fan? Do you get a lot of influence from him?
He is a big music fan, yeah. And he played in bands when I was a kid. They're like, but he would never. He's like, he played guitar, but like not well, and he would say that himself. And he would play like covers in pubs and stuff. But I think that like that attitude for him, my dad's always had this attitude of like, oh, I could do it. How hard could it be? He's always just like picked up random hobbies and just done them, and like not being very good at them, but it doesn't really seem to matter. And I've just really like, I've taken that attitude of like, well, like the worst you can be is bad at something, right? So might as well give it a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and you actually might really enjoy it. So
exactly.
It's your new thing. Yeah. Let's have a look at your second track. This is by someone I'd never heard of. This is Good Friday by Why.
like the first time you used soft water. Down on my luck, caught unaware like Houdini when the last fist struck. Sinking in, laughing at something sunken in I am. If I'm sinking in, laughing at something sunken in I am. If I'm sinking in, laughing at something sunken in I am.
So this is a Cincinnati band founded by rapper and singer Yoni, is it Yoni
Yeah.
Wolf, in 2004. And why was his stage name before that, I think, as well. I'm not quite sure what he did before that, but it was his stage name before that. He's released 8 studio albums. This track is from the album Alopecia from 2008. Why this one, Gracie?
I love this whole album, Alopecia. I guess I heard it when I was in secondary school, and it was like the right amount of angst for me, and so wordy. I know every single word on it, and the way that I guess I kind of learnt to write was just memorizing songs, was just memorizing lyrics, and especially this album, like it was so interesting for me to keep saying it over and over and over again. I like never got bored of just saying it to myself, and thinking about all the different lyrics and the meanings behind them, and it's quite it's dark and angsty and like appealing to a 13-year-old. And it was at that time, when you'd have an iPod with like 5 albums on it, and I'd just listen to this over and over and over again. And I think that it's just really made an impact on how I write and my desire to want to write, and just memorizing things. I think like one of the things that people take away from my live shows is they're like, how did you memorize all of that? Wow, like that's so much to remember. And I think that skill was honed by just listening to this album again and again and again and learning it. And now I have this power where I can like memorize huge amounts of text.
Yeah, see, that's what, when you do your Instagram posts, I'm thinking, you're looking at, have you got like a teleprompter behind you, like giving you all the words? No. So you're just doing it
I
from
do
memory?
it all from memory, yeah.
How long does it take to remember it all?
Like now, if I write something good, I just know it. Like if I write something good, I can like, or something that I deem as good, I can just kind of be like, oh, of course that's the next line. It just like makes so much sense to me that is what would come next.
Okay.
That it just sinks straight in. But then that's often a sign as well that if it takes me ages to learn something and I'm trying to like rote learn it and I'm like, it's not going in, I'm like, it was probably crap then.
So your kind of love of words comes from the music side of it rather than, you're talking about page poetry before, from rap. Yeah.
Like I've always really loved rap, and that's another thing is that I got an iPod for my birthday. My brother got me an iPod, and he uploaded a load of songs on it that he thought I might like, and he accidentally uploaded his like 90s rap playlist that had like all of the old school rappers on it, and that was when I was like a kid, and I just like absolutely loved it. I loved the words, and I was like learning it off by heart, and that I guess that's just what I've been exposed to is rap more than poetry. And like I've been like as I've grown up, I've been exposed to more and more poets and like gone more into that scene, and it's like so great, and I think that you really do have to seek work out in order to stay inspired. But fundamentally my background is in rap, and I just really love rap music.
Talking of rap, your next tune, Shimmy Shimmy Yay, Old Dirty Bastards. Let's play a clip.
Shimmy shimmy y'all, shimmy yam, shimmy yeah. Give me the mic so I can take it away. Off on the natural charge, bon voyage. Yeah, from the home of the Dodger Brooklyn squad. Wu-Tang killer, beats on the swarm. Rain on your college ass disco dorm. For you to even touch my skill, you gotta go to one killer bee, and he ain't gonna kill now.
Just the piano that they put in there is absolute genius. I don't know, you never think of it, but it's brilliant. So this is the second single from the Wu-Tang Clan members, released from 1995. It was ranked as number 59 in the greatest 100 hip-hop tracks. Why this one, Gracie?
So when I moved to Brighton, the first like band that I joined was like a hip-hop covers band, and I was playing bass in that, and I couldn't really play bass that well at all, but like they didn't care because it was just kind of more about vibes than it was about anything else. And we covered this song. It was the first that we used to play in the set, and
Well, so you had a rapper doing that as well.
Yeah, so there was a rapper and then like
Wow.
a full band behind it. Yeah.
Okay.
And that scene introduced me to so many people, like, and I think, yeah, and all of the bands that I've been in have kind of stemmed off of that first band, first rapper just being like, yeah, sure, play bass. You don't really know the names of the strings, but it doesn't matter. Like, you've got a vibe, which is what my dad promised would happen. So, you know, it all worked out okay. But yeah, and there was just so much like flexibility to it. There was so much, you know, like long after parties where people would do like ciphers and everyone would be rapping and people would be writing all the time, writing new bars. And I think just being exposed to that community of people that like will pass you the mic and let you have a go is kind of just what gave me the confidence to start performing it as like performance poetry, you know, like I've always written in different ways, but I thought, hey, I've got funny things to say that rhyme, you know, and it built from there. And so I felt like that was a key turning point. Like if I hadn't have met that band, then I wouldn't be where I am. Like everything has come from that,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. What were they called?
They were called Southwest Side.
Southwest Side. From Brighton?
From Brighton, which is, you know, because he was from West Sussex, so it was like the south of the West, but actually the Southwest is like Bristol, so it doesn't really make any sense.
But it sort of sounded cooler.
It sounded
so it's
cool,
all right.
yeah. Then West South Side just doesn't have the same ring to it. Yeah.
No, yeah. Exactly, yeah. Are you still in touch?
Yeah, well, yeah, and like members of those bands, like that band, have like gone on to play in like lots of different bands that I've been in, and like have become some of my closest friends. So yeah, and the scene in Brighton is still like, it's still populated by like the same people that are holding down the ciphers and the after parties and stuff. So yeah.
Let's go on to your next track. I love this song as well. This is Make Me Feel.
Yeah.
Janelle. Is it Janelle? Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe. Such a tune from 2018 from her third studio album, Dirty Computer. And there's lots of kind of like, I mean, just really sounds like Prince, and people were saying, did Prince write it? But I don't think he did. I think he sort of had a go in producing the music, but he didn't write it, I don't think. Why this one, Gracie?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it does like hark back to Prince. It really does sound like him. This song, I heard this song for the first time straight away after that Glastonbury where I met Beans on Toast, and I also met my boyfriend at that Glastonbury as well. So it was just like everything changed at that in that weekend. And then I remember afterwards I was like just like going on a cycle ride down the Brighton beach and just thinking like, oh, I've like, you know, met this amazing creative who's offered me all of these opportunities, and I've met this amazing person who's like just like completely shifted my whole life. And then this like song came on and like just on Spotify, and I was like, wow, like this is living, you know, this is life, this is what it's all about. And every time I listen to that song, it brings back that feeling of like everything can shift in just a weekend, everything can change. And then the next year when I was gigging with, I went there with my partner who was also playing, and I was gigging with Beans on Toast, like at like, you know, big stages and stuff. And then then Janelle Monáe was playing at the main stage, and I went to go see her, and like she was on at the same time as Avril Lavigne, and for some reason everyone at the festival went to go see Avril Lavigne, which, you know, they're absolutely missing a trick, because I managed to get like right to the front row for Janelle Monáe, and she's just such a powerful woman, and like the way that she has like femininity and sexuality, but she does it in like such a fun, silly way, and you can just tell like she has such joy from her performance. And I just like watched the whole thing with like my jaw hanging open, like this is such an inspiration. This is like such a woman on stage that I'm like, this is what I want to lean into. I want to lean into this like this femininity in a way that is powerful, and as a way that is like you know, like for women, you know, and I just was I'm still so inspired by her. I think she is such an incredible woman. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Gracie. Let's get on to your final track. This is Ocean Man by Wee.
Ocean Man.
don't think that's the official video. I found it on YouTube and thought, actually, I really like that video, and it's to the same song, so it's fine. So I'd not heard of Ween, but apparently this song was used in the SpongeBob Squarepants movie of 2004. It's taken from their 6th studio album, and Ween are they call themselves Dean and Jean Ween, but that's not their real names, I think. And they started in Pennsylvania in 1984, apparently. Why this one, Casey?
Yeah, this song, it was like, I guess it was like a year ago now. It was like last April, and I was like in between tours and in between feeling like everything, and was getting really just so like, I can't make rent next month. I can't make, like, how am I gonna make money from this? I'm like feeling so stuck in every sense of the word. And then I heard this song, Ocean Man by Ween, and I was like, this is just a killer track. I was like, this is so fun and silly, and like that, just like it made my brain go from like black and white to like multicolored. I was like, this is so fun. And I just listened to it on repeat like 5 times in a row. I walked down Brighton Road. I was like, gonna go swim in the sea, and then I started just writing, and I was like, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna like write a novel. And I was just like listening to this song, and then I ended up just like listening to Ween straight for like 3 months, and I like started writing this novel that I've like just finished at the start of this year. And this novel, it was like, started writing it, and I was like, oh, like none of this matters, like can't make rent next month, or like that, you know, that I'm like a broke artist, or that, you know, none of this matters because I'm like writing this book, and this book's going to be huge, so like it's fine, nothing to stress about, like this is going to be in supermarkets and everything. So I just really feel like I can tie back that shift of being like, oh god, I've really fucked it, to like, oh no, this is fine, I'm like, I'm still creating art, I'm still making stuff, like I'm yet to have my big break. Just down to this like silly song about wow. The ocean, about like some sort of space ocean man, and that whole album. And then I like got really into Ween and was like reading about them all the time, and that whole album like inspired the creation of SpongeBob Squarepants. Someone listened to that album and they were like, we should make a fun cartoon about a sponge, and I was like, that's so funny that
I didn't realise. Well, so Ween made the cartoon?
No, Ween made the album, and the person that made SpongeBob listened to that album and thought, wow, cool, I'm gonna make a cartoon. And you know, like that album inspired my book. My book's not about that album at all, but like it gave me maybe there's something magic in that Ween album that gives people the best ideas they've ever had in their lives.
Yeah, just inspiring. Yeah. It's the power of a good album. Can we talk about your novel?
Yeah, so I wrote a novel. It's about a banjo player, and it's kind of loosely based on my life of like being a DIY musician, but it's not like, it's a character that I've created and kind of weaved in all of these like people that I've met through being a musician, and it kind of just shines a light on this space between, I think people assume that either you're, you know, getting number ones and playing stadiums, or you're like, you know, a shit musician and doing nothing. And there's so much in between those two extremes, you know. There's so many DIY musicians that are putting on their own gigs, that are making good money, that are going on good tours, that are like getting their sounds out there, and they can go from, you know, playing a gig to 3 people to like playing to a crowd of 3,000 people the next night. Like that's the journey that I've been on, and so many other musicians are on right now. And I've written a book about it, and it's kind of like weaves in all the festivals and the DIY music scene, and I'm like so proud of it. Yeah, I'm like really like, it's the best thing I've ever done. So thank you, Ocean Man.
Oh wow. Yeah. And thank you, Ocean Man. And is it public? I don't know how the book world works, but is it published?
No,
is it going to go, like, can people access it?
I've like kind of pre-released it, so I'm just selling it myself at the moment, and asking for feedback. Okay. So it's kind of like a white label record that people can, you know, read it and let me know their thoughts, and then I'm hoping to get it published next year. That's my plan.
Oh, amazing! What's it called?
Soap on a Rope.
Soap on a Rope. Love that. Why?
Because
why Soap on a Rope?
She's written this song called Soap on a Rope. and this big soap company want to use it in one of their adverts, and so she's stuck in this dilemma of like, is this selling out to like have my little like folky punky song used on a big soap advert, or should I just take the money and run? Is the whole conundrum.
That's a very interesting one as well for an artist as well. When a big corporate comes along and goes, "We'll give you loads of money, but we want your art," and it's like, is it a sellout? Is it a sellout or not? I don't know.
It's hard.
It depends on the artist. I think.
Does. It definitely does. That I've seen adverts. Iggy Pop selling car insurance, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like, yeah. But then also, if someone was going to offer me a big chunk of money, it was going to be really hard to say no to it.
To do a car advert, yeah. But that's the sort of that's the almost horrific nature of the society we live in, isn't it? That actually someone can buy you, because we need money to survive, don't we? So that's very inspiring. I'm going to go back and listen to that Ween album just to get my creative juices flowing, because it sounds pretty amazing. That's great. Gracie, we're going to wrap it up now, but I always ask my guests, what have you got coming up for the next 2026, early 2027?
Yeah, so I've got some festivals this summer. I'm doing Green Gathering and Boomtown, and then I'm going on tour in October, and I'm in the stages of organising that at the moment, and hopefully going all around the UK, so I'm really excited about that.
Are you coming into London at all?
Yeah, there should be some London dates in there. Yeah.
Gracie, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great chat. I really, really enjoyed your choices. I think the stories behind them are brilliant as well. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you at one of your shows.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.